The Villisca Axe Murders. One of America's most horrifying unsolved crimes. This gruesome crime took place in Villisca during the summer of 1912. Villisca was a small town in Montgomery County, located in the southwest region of Iowa. At the time, the population of this quiet town was barely 1,000 people. The case centered around the Moore family, a respected and well-liked household in the community. Josiah Moore, a successful businessman, lived with his wife Sarah and their 4 children, Herman, Mary, Arthur, and Paul, all between the ages of 5 and 10. On the evening of June 9, 1912, after attending a Sunday night church event, the Moores brought home 2 overnight guests Lena and Ina Stillinger, friends of their daughter. It was a peaceful summer night, but within hours, everyone in that house would be brutally murdered in their sleep. The unknown killer is believed to have broken into the house beforehand, possibly hiding in the attic for hours. Evidence of a still-lit cigar found in the attic led investigators to believe that the murderer waited patiently, watching and listening until the entire family was asleep. Sometime after midnight, he emerged and began his slaughter. The murder weapon was Josiah's own axe, which had been left outside and brought in by the killer. Room by room, the intruder moved silently, methodically striking each victim with incredible force. All 8 victims had severe head trauma, most inflicted with the blunt end of the axe. Josiah suffered the most brutal blows. His face was so disfigured he was nearly unrecognizable. This led many to believe that he was the killer's primary target, possibly due to personal vendetta or unresolved conflict. After killing Josiah and Sarah, the killer moved to the children's rooms and murdered them as they slept. Only Lena Stillinger seemed to have woken up. Her body was found askew on the bed, her nightgown pulled up, and her head showed signs of bruising, suggesting a struggle and the possibility of sexual assault. Once he had finished, the murderer returned to the parents' room and delivered additional blows to both Josiah and Sarah. Disturbingly, after the killings, he covered the victims' faces with cloths, draped clothing over the mirrors, and blocked the windows using bedsheets or garments. Then, as mysteriously as he came, he vanished into the night. The next morning, neighbor Mary Peckham grew concerned when she didn't see the family up and about. She contacted Josiah's brother, Ross Moore, who entered the house with a spare key. Inside, he discovered a horrific scene, blood everywhere, and 8 lifeless bodies lying in bed. Police were called, but not before dozens of curious townsfolk had wandered into the home, contaminating the crime scene. This was one of the key investigative failures that would haunt the case for years. Several suspects were considered, yet no one was ever convicted. The first was Sam Moyer, Josiah's brother-in-law, who had publicly threatened him before. But Sam had no motive to kill Sarah and the children and had a solid alibi for the night of the murders. Another suspect was Henry Lee Moore, a known criminal who had murdered his own mother and grandmother with an axe. Federal investigator M.W. McClockery joined the case and began connecting Henry Lee to a series of similar axe murders across the Midwest. He believed Henry was responsible for the Villisca massacre, but no definitive link was ever established. Then came Frank Jones, an Iowa state senator and prominent businessman. Josiah had worked for Jones before starting his own rival company in 1908, allegedly taking many clients with him. Rumors suggested that Jones hired a man named William Blackie Mansfield to kill Josiah. Mansfield himself had a violent past and was connected to other axe murders. Some investigators believed Mansfield was the killer behind multiple similar crimes across the region, but Mansfield had an alibi. Official records placed him in Illinois during the night of the Villisca murders. He was released, and even successfully sued for $2.225 in damages. Still, some witnesses claimed to have seen a man resembling Mansfield boarding a train near Villisca the day after the murders. There were also whispers that Jones fabricated Mansfield's alibi after the crime drew national attention. Yet, no concrete evidence or witness testimony ever connected the two men definitively. The final and most curious suspect was Reverend George Kelly, a traveling preacher with a history of mental illness. He had attended the church event hosted by the Moore family on the night of the murders, and oddly left Villisca early the next morning. He later sent letters to the Moore family and law enforcement requesting details about the crime, before such information was made public. In 1917, Kelly was arrested and interrogated. He confessed to the murders but quickly recanted, claiming he had been coerced. At trial, the jury was deadlocked, and in the retrial, he was acquitted. Many still believe he was mentally unstable and may have falsely confessed under pressure. Over the year, investigators received dozens of tips, confessions, and claims from people stating they were paid to commit the murders or had knowledge of the killer's identity. Most turned out to be hoaxes or led to dead ends. As time passed, the case went cold. To this day, no one knows for certain who murdered the Moore family. The Villisca Axe murders remain one of the most chilling and infamous unsolved crimes in American history. Was it a personal grudge against Josiah Moore doomed his entire family? Was it the work of a wandering madman? Or was it all part of a series of killings carried out by a serial murderer, whose identity was never uncovered? The truth lies buried with the victims, and with it, a century-old mystery that continues to haunt the town of Villisca.